Thank you everyone so much. Can everyone on Zoom confirm if you can hear us? We're so excited to have 5 guests on Zoom and 3 in person. And with the recording, we'll be sharing it globally. There are quite a few people interested in this conversation. So we're excited to be here today. Maybe let's do some intros just because we have a nice small group, and we'll start with our guests.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure and an honor being here. Second time in my life in Davis. Nauman Ali, I'm from Pakistan, Northeast. Lahore is my hometown. Basically, I'm a textile engineer and an MBA. And I've been in the market working in operations, productions, marketing, sales for the last 25 years. And since last 5 to 6 years, I've been focusing on sustainable textiles. The idea was to actually convert all the regular textile products into sustainable. And that's what we've been doing since last 5 to 6 years. And the products you see here are all sustainable, starting from 25% in sustainable materials to probably 100% as well. And we have 2 main, let's say, the business branches in which we operate. First is obviously the mechanically recycled fibers or raw materials. That includes recycled cotton, recycled polyester, recycled linen, all these mechanically recycled fibers. The other branch is actually also based on the agriculture waste actually, but that is the agriculture waste. So agriculture waste we take after the harvest, for example, hemp, pineapple, banana, and all these products actually. So we take the waste after the harvest, the agriculture waste, and we process them through our partners based in USA, Vietnam, and China as well, and produce different alternate and sustainable raw materials for the textile industry and the fast fashion. So we've been doing this for the last few years now. All these products have been developed in that time zone. And I think it's a lot of interest in this right now with the fashion industry, especially the large brands as Gap, Levi's, Old Navy. They have adopted our few products as well already. And recycled cotton is something which is, it's been in the market for a long, long time. So that's a brief introduction. Thank you.
So I'm Joanne, Brasch. I have a PhD in textile economics, and for 14 years I was in the building right over there, Emerson Hall. We might do a walk by later. And my background was actually in textile policy. So I did research at the hospital, at the UC Davis hospital, and I helped them with their textile trash. And so I actually avoided fashion for most of my career. I like technical fabrics. I like performance, protective, clothing and garments. But my research kind of crossed me over into this policy world of, how can we change policies to adapt more of these types of materials into our market? So I left UC Davis, joined the California Product Stewardship Council, where we do 2 things. We do projects that are designed to help cities and counties develop recycling programs that work with the industry. The other thing we do is policy. So May is going to be my lead this year to work on SB 707. It's a legislation on textile recycling. And we love to work with partners throughout the world before these policies pass, because those partnerships get strengthened once the policy and the program's in place. So I met Nauman through our pilot project in Los Angeles. We are working with some really large volumes of textile waste, and we need a really large recycler to take in those volumes and to make products for the big brands. There's some things that are happening at scalable levels, but as Nauman said, this is not like a new invention. This has been around for hundreds of years. What we need are the brands to change and put these products into their collections. So, really the success of these types of programs comes through the partnerships. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the other people we're working with in Los Angeles to build that system so that the material flows can go to Pakistan and then back to where they're cut and sewn and then eventually make it to our closets. You gonna do an introduction?
Sure. There's my hand. My name is Kelly. I am an undergrad fourth-year design major. I'm excited to be here. It's nice to meet y'all. Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm the director for the Environmental Policy and Management Program. So I primarily work with our external partners, help students get internships, and then I manage our policy clinic. So
Right.
nice to be here.
So my name is May. I am a Fulbright student from Myanmar, and I'm studying environmental policy and management here. Nice to
And
meet
then maybe everyone in the Zoom, in the chat, let us know, what are your interests? What are some of the things that you do for work that brought you here today to this lecture? Great, well, thank you everyone for being here. So you can just tell May whenever you want to go to the next slide.
Sure, I mean, this is my company, it's called Brasch Private Limited. We're based in Lahore and we're trying to expand to Bangladesh and opening an office over there, a showroom in Dubai, UAE as well. So next slide, please. So we are a sustainable material science company. We adopt and add sustainable technologies and materials from different parts of the world. Basically, we produce the fibers, yarns, and the fabrics to show the brands and the consumers and see what kind of end product we can get out of these sustainable technologies. Next slide, please. These are the list of the products. Recycled cotton is a major product for us, RCTN, which is raw cotton recycled. And most of the products are based on the raw recycled cotton products as well. The color text actually is color recycled cotton, so which is post-consumer and pre-consumer. And we use that in different shades like this. So these are already adopted by brands like IKEA and Gap and other brands as well. RPET is a Chinese technology in which we actually get the fiber from China. It's a recycled polyester, but textile to textile recycled, not from the PET bottles. Then Agritex Plus sustainable hemp actually then it comes from USA. So USA is in a 10 times larger production of hemp than Europe. And the patent processes from our partners in USA are most sustainable at the moment in the world right now. So we actually gonna get those fibers like this one. And there's another short and long fibers. So these are hemp fibers from USA. We bring these to South Asia in Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, and then make new materials out of it, yarns and fabrics, and to present and show the brands and what kind of end product we can then get out of this. For example, this denim has 30% US hemp in it. And we recently produced this yarn and this fabric with 30% hemp in the knits as well. So you can see the texture and everything else. So this is extremely sustainable in a technology. It's organic product. No artificial chemicals, water, or anything is included to process the fiber. And rest of the process is also sustainable as per the textile supply chain. We have sustainable pineapple, so which is a recent add to our product list. And this pineapple comes from Vietnam. And I'll show you in the next slides. Actually, this pineapple, Vietnam is the 4th largest producer of pineapple in the world. And the kind of agricultural waste they produce is probably 40 times more. So you can imagine, how much agricultural waste after each harvest we can get out of this plant and this cultivation of pineapple. And it's a staple in a diet all over the world. So it has to be grown anyways, So we take that waste, process the waste, and then produce these fibers. So I've done some trials with our partners in Vietnam recently, and this is the result. It's a very extremely great fiber. I'll explain you in details what kind of what is the difference between a good cotton and a good pineapple fibers. Recycled flax is linen, normal linen, and it's recycled from post-consumer or pre-consumer waste of 100% linen, and that's what we didn't process. We have partners and two major partners in the sustainability of PEF Trust. This is a LCA company, life cycle assessment. They have a platform, SaaS-based, so software as their service platform in France, based in France. And we partner with them, we promote them for all the LCAs. So my recycled cotton LCA has been calculated by them. So which is 88%, I'll show you in a while, sustainable than the virgin cotton. So you can imagine no water, no electricity, and GHG gases and everything else is much lower than what is required for the virgin cotton. And then fertilizers, pesticides, land tilling, so all these fossil fuels used to till the land, to harvest and everything else is also, saved. So carbon footprint is saved a lot in this. So we calculate everything. There are 16 points they actually calculate. So eutrophication, human toxicology, and a lot of other things. So everything is calculated. And then they give a score, and it's 88% saving for the recycled cotton than the virgin cotton. Fiber 52 is another partner I'm engaged with recently. We are in process of developing and implementing this chemistry, sustainable chemistry in the textile industry. The idea is to convert all the inorganic the chemistry into organic chemistry. So it's a biosciences company. It's a biotechnology in which we totally eliminate sodium hydroxide from the processing of the cotton. So it's a bit technical terms here, but these are very important terms for the technical people actually in the industry, because to process the cotton, to actually take the waxes and the oils out of cotton and put the dye in, we have to emulsify, and that emulsification happens with the sodium hydroxide. So sodium hydroxide is a major let's say the ingredient in processing of the textiles, wet processing of textiles. And to eliminate that was a big challenge. I think this company has already achieved that. We'll be doing some trials in the continuous dyeing and finishing in North Carolina State University next week, probably on Monday or Tuesday. And in the exhaust process, so which is for the knits and the wovens, lightweight fabrics, we've already done these trials. So it's already a success, and we will be implementing with our partners in South Asia soon, and you will see all the hang tags with F52 as well, with the brands and in the finished products. So next slide, please. So Ecotex is our main brand for RCTN as recycled cotton. Premium recycled cotton is what we call it, from the raw white, the industrial, mostly post-industrial waste, but pre-consumer waste as well from the cutting, clippings from the cutting waste. This region, South Asia, and especially Pakistan, India, the Punjab region is the cotton growing region of the world. They started growing cotton thousands of years back. And the moment we started growing cotton, we started producing waste as well. So every, and we have a culture over there not to waste anything, so this is a normal social and the culture thing over there. So these are the, the pictures how it used to be recycled, the cotton, from the industrial waste and even from the beddings, pre-consumer and post-consumer beddings as well, in the past, like hundreds of years ago, centuries ago, 1500 in the century or 1600 century. Next slide, please. And this is the recently, last 20 years, everything has been mechanized. So on the left, if you see, these are all the clippings, all the colored clippings. In the middle picture is about all the clippings in raw white. And that's how we actually sorting. So it's a waste and sorting process, you know. So you can understand, you know, now it's being done on a massive scale. So this is like thousands of square feet and meters, you know. And this is just one, you know, city out of 200 in just one region of Pakistan. So you can imagine, you know, the kind of capacity we have to recycle and the sources we have and the capabilities. And we've been doing this for the last 20 and 25 years, all mechanized like this. And they're producing all these sustainable products out of this waste. Next slide, please. So this is a typical waste process, what we do. So on the left side, you can see the yarn waste, waste yarn through the industrial waste, you know, then collection. And below on the left side, you can see the fabric waste from the clippings. So these are all, you know, pre and post-industrial and pre-consumer waste. And we recycle all these mechanical machines, bale it out, and then, you know, brand the fiber, and then sell the fiber or to either the mills who produce for the brands like Gap or Navy, Levi's, Contour, PVH, BF Corporation, you know, and on the European side, H&M, Inditex, Primark, all these brands, they use our waste fiber as well. We have a lot of capacity at the moment. I'm doing like 1,500 metric tons per month of this fiber, and we are here to join this project as well. And if we hope that it's a success and we can actually increase it many folds, you know. So we have the capacity to actually do that. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the specs. So this post-industrial and pre-consumer recycled cotton, Ecotex is the brand. On the right side is the bale. In the middle is the LC report, and you can see, you know, it's 88% savings overall, and the breakup is there. So all the 16 points or the 16 measurements, you know, what they take is also mentioned in that. So it's a very comprehensive kind of a calculation. And Peftrus, our partner, we thank them for doing this for us. On the left side, you can see the fiber specs. So these specs are very ideal for cotton spinning and to use almost 100% in, let's say, up to 20 single yarn. So 20 single is a basic, like average count, what we produce, the yarn size or the thickness of the yarn, what we produce in the textile industry. So these specs are very ideal, and we can actually use almost 100% to spin 20 singles. So you can imagine, you know, no virgin material, all recycled, and we have a lot of products which are already approved by brands, used by brands, and they have actually adopted all these products with 100% recycled cotton. Next slide, please. Okay, so starting from the ancient method of recycling, now there are a lot of last 15 to 20 years, a lot of advancements have been going on, the automation in the technology of recycling, and a lot of plants and capacities are already put up in the region in South Asia. By South Asia, I actually mean Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, but mainly Pakistan and India because they are the cotton growing country. So since they have the know-how and the capacity and capability to handle waste and to recycle waste, so they have actually improved a lot in these technologies, and they have actually acquired technologies from the West as well, from France and Spain and all these regions. So this is one of the examples of a latest plant. This plant is actually 12 years old. So you can see, I mean, it's in a immaculate condition. Next slide, please. And these are the new plants that are coming in. A lot of capacity, a lot of large players are also coming in and this is a recent, mill visit of our partner, one of the partner mills, who are actually putting up a waste plant, and they're planning to put 6 lines. So you can imagine, it's approximately 500,000 kgs, so 500 tons per line, almost per month. So 6 line is 3,000 kgs. 3,000 300,000 kgs, so 3 million kgs, let's say, is what they will be producing per month, and that's a huge capacity of these kind of fibers, and all this fiber will go into these products. So the idea is to show people that everything is possible. Next slide, please. This is a very modern spinning. And now what is happening in the industry is that the spinning mills and the spinning machines and manufacturers in the West, for example, Rieter, Trushlers, and Sollers, all these European, Swiss and German companies, they are actually adopting to recycle materials. So they are producing their plants and let's say reverse engineering their machines as well. So this is also all reverse engineering. And we need this for a sustainable growth, and there is an apprehension, that people ask me that there will be less virgin cotton used. I say no, because once you have empty shelves in the West, the cycle will go on, and it actually will increase and help the cotton growth. Because the problem at the moment is and I'm very happy that this SB in 707 has been passed, because this is the first step. This is the very important to have the policies to actually try to convince the brands that you cannot waste anything. Nothing should go wasted. This should be the most important thing in the policy. And once we do that, we have already done in California. The next step is how to utilize all this waste, and not to burn, not to landfill. So these two things are very, very important. So I think we have the capabilities and capacities in the West. Why? Because everything started from there. Cotton started growing from there. We have the spinning capacities, the weaving capacities, and all the supply chain is there. So the waste has to go back to the source to be recycled, because now we have the recycling capacities, and we are building the supply chain according to the waste as well, so which needs to come over there. Next slide, please. Thank you. These are the quality of the yarns we are then producing in mass scale. I'm doing around 2,000 metric tons per month of this yarn, so which is like one of the highest recycle yarn capacity in South Asia. With our partner mills, then thanks to them, they've been very supportive and very helpful in that. So next slide, please. This is the color text. So we have all the color text denim as well. In this product, the idea is to actually not to dye. So no dye is the concept, and to avoid the chemical processing of the fiber or the textile or yarn or fabric, whatever. And to produce all the 4 shades like light, medium, and dark shade, and extra dark shade as well in the denim, without even washing the garments. So you can imagine, these yarns, you only have to weave the cloth, and then finish the cloth, cut, stitch, and just laser, engrave everything, all the chevrons and all the bits, the design tools on the fabric or on the garment, and you have your garment without using any water at all. So this is the whole idea, and that saves not only the chemicals, the inorganic chemicals, the toxic the chemicals what we use, but also the burden on the effluent treatment plants in the industry. So which the brands actually really push for because of the sustainability and of the environmental concerns and everything else in the region where these are manufactured. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine, if you don't use water, there is no chemical as well. So it's a very good concept as well. Next slide, please. These are made, as I showed these products. These are made in same products. So not only in denim, but we can use the dyed product as well. All these products are actually 50% recycle and 50% virgin. So what we do is we collect all the waste, so yellows, greens, blues, reds, and create the fiber out of that, and match the virgin with the fiber, recycled fiber. So we can produce, exact shades. the design part here then it comes, where we need to stress the brands to actually and the consumer to use whatever is available, in the shade card, let's say. So we have a palette, so that has to be used because if we go for the custom shades, then we might have to dye it again, so it will kill the concept,
So just have a quick moment to imagine this. You have your recycling for your food containers, you have your recycling for your electronics, and none of those are sorted by color.
Yeah.
So here we have a more complex system where we could feed into a zero water, zero chemical system as long as we work together to get sorting systems by color, by fiber type.
Very important.
Yeah.
Very important, I totally agree, because the major markets are either US or Europe, so the waste is also generated here majorly in the world. So we need to understand that the waste has to go back to the source and let the source, recycle, whatever waste is possible for that specific waste. So by composition wise, by color wise, and everything else, all the requirements, Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is for the hemp fiber. It's grown in USA. So it's a bast fiber. It comes from the outer layer of the stem, and it's grown in USA. It's called the best LCA. As far as the hemp is concerned in the world, US hemp is probably the best LCA in a fiber at the moment. Next slide, please. This is how they process. They separate the hemp fiber from the hurd. So hurd is in the middle of the stem, the woody part, and the fiber is actually on the outside. So take the fiber out and separate the hurd from it. Hurd is used in the building material, and these are all after the harvest. So once the hemp is grown and it has seeds on it, they take the seeds away and waste the stem. So we used to waste the stem, the farmers in USA. So we take that waste, zero value, and we create these two products. So hurd is used in the building material like chip boards and all these compressed boards and woods. And the fiber is very, very strong textile material, so we can use. And it's very important material as well. And I think with the passage of time, the need of hemp will grow. We recently, by the way, before coming to this session, I was informed, I was actually congratulated by Gap, Old Navy. Actually, they recently launched our denim for kids. And I think we have the fabric here as well. This is the fabric. We have 20% hemp in it, and this is US hemp. You can imagine, and we started this project 1.5 years back. So it takes a lot of time and consistency and patience, to actually develop and adopt these products. So I actually congratulate our mill partners, Navina and AGI for fabric and garments, and also the team in Gap, Eiley Jones. She's been amazing and inspirational in this successful launch of this hemp. Next slide, please. This is the kind of yarns we can produce, and we recently have produced up to 30 single yarn with 30% hemp, and denims are obviously much easier to process and to use. Next slide, please. So here's the pineapple. Basically, pineapple is grown in Vietnam. 10,000 hectares. It's a huge quantity, and you can imagine the waste the fiber actually produces, the plant actually produces, because it's a 2-meter wide plant, all the leaves, and just one pineapple, in one plant. So you can imagine all the waste. Almost 40 times is the capacity of waste or the amount of waste produced by this cultivation of pineapple. So what we do is that we take this leaves Next slide, please. Next, please. We take these leaves and we mechanically process them. So we take the fibers out. It's a very strong fiber, very strong leaf and a very strong fiber. And just wash it in water, simple plain water. And it's organic material, organic, and water is like, I mean, natural material. So it's no harm to the water as well. And sun dry. And this is a patent process developed by our partners in Vietnam as well. Next slide, please. And what we did, we actually, got this. So these are all the, let's say, the properties. It's a natural UV protection, natural antibacterial odor control, durability, and keeps warm and cool touch as well at the same time. Moisture absorption is almost double than cotton. So you can imagine, it's a very resilient and very important fiber for the textile use. Next slide, please. So I was telling you that this technology, we actually have refined this product, what you see in this in a physical sample. So this is the first time it's been developed at this scale to actually optimize the quality of the fiber to be spun in the cotton system in the supply chain and to be used. So the first product we will be rolling out probably in next few weeks, if not months, and we will be able to launch these. There are a lot of demand of this fiber right now. So you might see pineapple denim in the future, with 30%, 20% pineapple in them as well. So this is the kind of, so next slide, please. That's it. That's what we do. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Well, I'll just go through my slide kind of quick and then we can come and talk and touch all these fabrics, and knowing that, at the end of the day, this industry isn't going anywhere, right? We're all going to keep wearing clothes. And there's more of this discussion for natural fibers, because if you look at the synthetics, there's chemicals that can leach into your skin, the water. There's, when with recycling for chemicals, it loses some of its performance. Plus the GHG impact and the soil to soil circularity of natural fibers. That's one of the many conversations that's happening in the industry, and connecting with one of the largest mechanical recyclers really facilitates that shift towards more natural fibers. We can have pineapple, hemp, linen, and it'll be more cost effective. Because right now polyester is just so cheap, right? That's why so much of these fast fashion items have these synthetic materials. But if there's something incentivizing the brands to consider these, and knowing that if there's funding in the future and more brands buying these types of fabrics, the economics will shift and the prices will follow.
Absolutely. The prices will come down, definitely. It's economy of scale. You scale up the production, the prices will definitely come down,
And right now, the entire decision-making scheme for a lot of these brands are based on price and bottom line.
Right. But
we see this shift. There are brands who have sustainability in their DNA. And companies like H&M and Inditex, if they want to sustain their business model, they have to adapt their design, they have to adapt their fiber contents. So we can go to the next slide. So here at CPSC, you can go through these kind of quickly. We have a small team and a big board, and we're a nonprofit, and we're pretty much representing the cities, the counties, and the organizations that are responsible for picking up our trash, sorting our recycling, and ensuring that as a state, we're not causing harm in someone else's country. So we have private sponsors, next slide, and our advisory committee. So SCPSC gets involved in textiles, and we look at different ways to create management systems. One of our philosophies is to learn from the industry. We have academia, you have government, but at the end of the day, these are products that designers are making, and businesses are moving materials all over the world. So we need to align our policies
with a manner that's supportive of business and supportive of innovation and we want people to wear nice things and you know, try new styles. So I do want to take a quick second, actually before we go to the youth strike. What do you all think is the top exports of the United States? We import a lot because we're shoppers, but what are we exporting?
Never thought about it.
Because it's not a lot, and we're not big manufacturers. So by volume, it's airplanes. By value, it's software. But one of the fastest growing categories is waste. Because we don't have the system to recycle our plastics or recycle our electronics. And what's happened over the last 10 years, if you look at China Green Sword and you look at the electronics recycling in Indonesia, is we as a country have been dumping, you know, and not giving the funding and the support for these countries to take our waste and turn into new products that we'll buy. Like we're shoppers, we will buy these new products. So our advisory committee gets together and TPSC gets together to talk about how do we shift those economics where we're not just recycling and dumping. And so we'll talk about policy today, and we'll talk about things like responsible end markets, manifesting and tracking. And we do this for so many of our other products. We do it for electronics and batteries. We do it for our plastics, but we don't do it for textiles yet. So one of the things that we are creating is our university advisory committee, because we just believe that the high school and the university students of the world are the ones who are going to be entering the workforce to design for these brands. And the students are honestly the largest spending market sector. So what they want matters. Like what you want in a pair of pants, like it matters to the brands. And so by creating a platform to have the students influence policy is our goal for the next 6 months or a year really. So May will follow up with an invite to every student on the campus to join our monthly calls that are going to start in January. And our goal again is to hear from everybody so that as we move forward, we can create a system that is fair and equitable.
That's great. It's great.
And we want international students too. So maybe
Absolutely.
I heard your son just started university.
Anything we can do to help and to actually make this aware, not only to the students, but the common person on the street is everybody needs to be part of it.
Next slide. So we know it's a problem. There's a lot of problems in the industry and it's not going to be solved in one solution. We know the volume, especially with fast fashion, it's a large volume. So managing it's going to be expensive. We know it's not just clothing, you know, Nauman's talked about, you know, automotive and agriculture, and even the people working in the ag field are wearing protective clothing. So there's so many types, the airplane you took to get here, there's leathers, there's carpet. So we're talking about different industries, even though it's a similar material. And then we'll talk about blends, because right now there's a lot of synthetics mixing with naturals, which would make it hard for his system to ensure that the final product is recycled content with natural fibers, that the brands want that assurance, that transparency. But given our current system and our tracking and our labels, it's just outdated. So our labels on our clothes, everyone, they're all there. It's legally required by our federal government. And these tags the laws haven't changed since the 70s. Some of these fibers didn't even exist 10 years ago. And the information on our tags is not what our recyclers need. Because if there's 3% of a synthetic, they don't legally have to disclose that. So if he gets these waste and he doesn't know that there's elastic mixed in, it could gum up those machines. So there's some risk there on the design side, on the collection side. And it's our job as a waste generating society to make sure that we protect his machines and we protect his feedstock. That's our responsibility as waste generators. We can't just create this waste and dump it. Next slide, please. So we have quite a few projects. May's working with quite a few. Some of the other alumni from this program have helped us. And each of these cities and counties, they want to know, like, how can we recycle textiles? So the city of San Francisco and the city of San Jose tried to allow fabrics in your blue bin. So you know, when you put your recycling in your blue bin, you put your blue bin to the street, they thought, oh, put it in a bag, someone will grab it and we can recycle it. That ended horribly because when you put your soda bottles or your leftover ramen, that contaminates the fabrics. When the fabric bag rips and tangles the machines and the recycling, it's more expensive than any recycler was, or any collector was willing to do. So the city of San Francisco and the city of San Jose quietly killed their program. But we know in the world of education that stopping a program is more expensive and challenging than starting one. So what they have now, 10 years later, is a contamination rate that renders the plastics recyclable, non-recyclable, because they're commingled with textiles. So some of our largest cities in the state are struggling to actually get the textiles out of their recycling stream. And so what other solution do they have? And it's thrifts. So second-hand stores, thrift stores become our cities and counties' default. But you take it to your donations, they're gonna sort for recycling. But the reality is, no one wants to pay for recycling because for them to sort the unusables and the usables is labor. To send them for reuse, they get paid. To send for recycling, they have to pay. So there's no financial incentive for reuse markets to separate recycling and reuse. So we're trying to figure out in the state, not only the volume of textiles, but what's the fiber content? How much of what's in the waste can we ship to these factories? How much do we need to send to maybe a chemical recycler like Eastman in Tennessee? And how many of them are just not recyclable and those brands have to change their ways? So one of my favorite projects is actually the one that we've been doing lately is with these fiber identification devices. So there are technologies out there where you can scan a fabric and it can tell you within 2 seconds, 3 seconds, exactly the fiber composition. And what's really cool is maybe 2 of these tech companies are like women owned. One of them's a UC grad, I think from Irvine. And the market for that is moving faster than the regulations for labels. And so we've been meeting, so we went to LA 2 days ago where we met with the city. We're gonna meet with big fashion brands. And then we have recyclers in the room so we can have these conversations about why fiber content matters. Next slide. So before we kind of talk about policy, I do like to describe what is extended producer responsibility, because that's what we believe is the most equitable recycling program. And so the other way that recycling is paid is through your garbage bills. So if you rented an apartment, it's probably built into your rent, but whoever owns that building pays to have the garbage serviced. If you live in a single family home, you pay a monthly garbage bill. And that covers the truck who's paid by the city to come once a week. It covers the cost of where it's going to be taken for sorting. And then it covers the cost for reporting. So what happens is if we add more products and we add more bins, everyone's bill is going to go up. And why should we be paying a bill for textiles when the brands are profiting off of putting these in our market? So what extended producer responsibility says is we don't want this recycling program funded from our garbage bills. We also don't want it funded by general taxes, because as sales go down, as property values go down, your program funding is elastic. And as we know, the demand is growing, the demand for quality and research is growing. So there needs to be a sustainable funding flow. When we talk about sustainability, we talk about water, we talk about materials, we talk about labor, but we also have to talk about money, because it's not free to ship containers to Pakistan. It's not free for him to have labor and to maintain those machines, like I imagine, to keep them that clean. It's not free. And so what extended producer responsibility is saying is, let's build the cost of recycling into the product price. So here in California, we do pay recycling fees for some products, like if you buy a mattress, you pay a $10 fee. If you buy a printer, no, sorry, not printers aren't covered, but TVs, there's a recycling fee. And that's a consumer fee, and it goes to the government, and then the government pays our haulers and the traditional system. But the problem with that is electronics and like plastics, there isn't that demand to go, as much of a demand to go into circularity as there is for fashion. And so by doing this, by building it into the product price, there's a couple fundamental reasons that actually motivate the companies to change. One, if you're paying a fee for every unit you sell, you're going to consider maybe less production and more quality and more durability. If you're required to pay the fee for every product, but the fee is lower if you have organic or lower for recycled content, you're going to quickly adopt recycled content to pay the lower fee. So it's an incentive-based program. We're not saying everyone needs recycled content tomorrow. I don't know if you would actually like that. That might be a little hectic for you. But if we say, hey, over the next 5 years, if you all start considering organic cotton in your t-shirts or even just basic goods, you're setting yourself up for a lower cost program in the future. And so you need the brands to pay in. They have the skin in the game. It's their money, and they're more motivated to reduce costs than our government. So with EPR, the money doesn't go to the government and the materials don't go to the government. And that's really good for products like this that our government turns out doesn't know much about because we're not labeling them, we're not regulating them. So by getting the brands who know the fiber content, they know the mills, they know the fiber producers to run the program, they have all the information and supply chain already that our government doesn't have. Exchange. So there is legislation in California, but there's legislation that's really similar to this all over the world, and it all happened like a wildfire in the last 12 months. I'd like to think we were the first, but we weren't. Europe beat us like always. Excuse me. So in Europe, about 10 years ago, France introduced an EPR program for textiles. But there was problems with that structure. There was a lot of dumping and reuse, a lot of greenwashing. And so the rest of the EU decided, well, let's adapt that program to each country can create their version of an EPR program. And so that was signed and kind of recommended to roll out this year and next. So we've seen Spain sign something, Sweden updated theirs, France did a big update. We see Italy considering, how do we fit in because we want to be different. And but the United States, we're just different, right? We are not parliamentary. We are very business friendly, and our Constitution as a government takes the position of not limiting business and not telling companies what to do with their money and what to do with their materials. So that's why here in California, our EPR program is different than Europe's. And there's a few things that are really specific about our style of EPR programs. First being the transparency. And that's actually the California way. Our hearings are public. You can watch them on Zoom from anywhere in the world. You can participate in public comment with our agencies from all over the world. But yet in France and Europe, I don't even know as an expert how I can contribute comments and suggestions. So just as a government and as a state, we're very collaborative, and we have a very accessible process. Next slide. So there's a few key things that are unique about SB 707 that are separate from some of the other proposals, but also some really key things that really shift the industry. So first and foremost, this is a waste and recycling program. We want more reuse, and we know there's issues with reuse, but extended producer responsibility, the philosophy is they have to pay for the waste because there's no value. Because right now the system, the reason it's accumulating is because no one's paying to move it to where it needs to be. So again, it's focused on materials that have no value. Two, we have a major repair component. You know, it does take a lot of GHG to ship the scraps. And so if we can reduce that by repairing, upcycling, that's the best option. But in France, that repair component is a payment to the resident. So you get like $20 to go into a store and you can repair maybe a pair of pants. Even though it might cost $50 for that pair of pants, the money goes to you as a resident. Here in California, our repair funds go to the businesses. It's a business to business funding flow because we believe if the businesses get that financial incentive, they're gonna start selling more upcycle. They're gonna start selling more repaired. So that's kind of how you build financial incentives. The other thing is greenwashing. Nauman has to compete with soda bottles claiming that they're the best option. Nauman has to compete with companies putting 5% recycled content and saying it's sustainable, where he's putting all this effort, research and labor and technology to getting as close to 100% as possible. We also see people claiming to be recyclers, but really they're just shipping. They're just a through point. And so with SB 707, we actually set the definition of textile recycling so that it really captures the people who are modifying at the yarn and fiber level. So just a quick moment to just, because I don't know how much I know we have a designer here, but the way textiles are made is those fibers are then twisted into the yarn, and then that yarn is knitted and cut into fabrics. So those 3 steps are usually different companies, different countries even. So how do we ensure transparency when we're feeding materials into this system that people are claiming things that aren't accurate? So working with companies like Nauman's company and other recyclers through certifications. You know, he worked with that LCA company. He worked with, I think, Textile Exchange, and meeting certain industry standards helps SB 707 meet goals that we can't set those standards. So they kind of internally regulate and comply. Next. Sorting. We talked about sorting by color. We've talked about sorting by fiber type. And as much as we can do here in California before exporting makes his life easier. But the problem is the cost, right? Our cost of labor is significantly higher. Our cost of a warehouse is significantly higher. And so having that financial incentive with SB 707, so here in California, if we start collecting and sorting by fiber type, they will get money that will cover the shipments to Nauman, and he gets a cleaner feedstock. He gets to focus on quality and less focus on getting the trash organized. That should be our responsibility to at least help him make it easier. Next. Some of the other things that really help with EPR so that it's not just a black hole of recycling is there's performance standards. So in Europe, there are design standards. They're saying, you know, you can only use 2 types of fibers, maybe 3. There's rules on what kind of dyes you can use. And here in the United States, we say it's a performance base. So let's say there's a new dye next month or next year. We don't want to regulate an innovation that could really change. So instead of a technology standard, we take a performance goal. And we're saying, well, as long as you can create 100% recyclable by a certain date, then you can do whatever you want. You can still put the elastic if you have a process for that. And the reason is by not taking that design approach, we still have a room for innovation. Because there's a lot of money in this industry. Fashion is built on innovation. Who's different? Who has the new product? So if we couple that innovation with sustainability, they're gonna be a rush to who can get the most recycled content, who can get the best hem with the best organic blend. And so we want to incentivize them to funnel that innovation, funnel that funding into these types of materials. Then the other thing, the transparency, accountability, reporting. One thing a PhD and a master's program will definitely prepare you for is how to read documents really quickly and how to do a write-up 1 page or less. That's one of the things May and I have been working on in the last year. You know, here's an annual report from the carpet program. Let's write our comments. And how do we digest that to say, how can they improve? What do we expect from them next year? And by having that back and forth of public comments and complaints and praises, everything, it's a constant improvement. So instead of saying you have to be perfect by day one, we say, let's create a system that allows feedback to improve incrementally. Next slide. So there's a lot of things that everyone can do to get involved. Obviously, just watching what you buy, checking how much spandex is in the products you buy, finding maybe some take-back programs or mail-back recycling programs. They're not perfect, but that's what we have today and tomorrow. Hopefully in the next few years, you'll see more collection bins and recycling opportunities. But it's up to us as consumers to kind of make that demands and to say, we do want more natural fibers and to show that in your purchases. We could do local pilots. I think it would be really fun to do something on campus. So I'm working with May to see if we could do repair workshops, if we could do a sorting workshop, like maybe we could figure something out where we ship something to Nauman for recycling, and I have funds through my pilots that we can cover that shipment. But on campus as students, maybe we could organize the sorting, where it's a learning activity where we can say, okay, this is where the cottons go. This is where the blends go. This is the bin for the polyester. So if that's something you wanted to work on,
I have some ideas.
yeah, we can get the professors involved, we can get the grad students involved, and it gives experiential learning because, again, we're all wearing clothes, and sometimes there's that disconnect between fiber type and just the bigger system. And then just in general, we have listservs and updates. I know you're on it, which I'm happy to add you to it. And anyone on the Zoom, we're happy to add for updates. So we'll just take questions now. And if anyone on the Zoom has questions, we can also follow up. If anyone has questions, maybe you talk to your professors after, we can send the questions to Nauman through email.
Yes.
And we want to keep this conversation going.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
Alejandra. Alejandra, we would love to have you, and we can also work with your design students to share this recording. All right, who has questions on any of the fabrics or fibers?
I have a question. It's more like, for me, I really want to know. So now you are like innovating on like natural fiber, like hams and the pineapples. I really want to know the reaction from brands and also consumer. What is their reaction when you are providing them the container made from hams and then in the future pineapple? So are they like excited or what is the...
Few of them are very excited.
Okay.
Obviously, you know, I mean, as comprehensively, you know, Joanne has explained, basically, brands are really excited, not only because the products are exotic and they are new products, and change is always important for the brands to actually, you know, continue their sales as well, you know, and to keep the sales up. Second is obviously the policies, you know, which are changing as well. So from all, we have to burn, I mean, as I said, you know, we have to burn the candle from all ends, not two ends, but all ends. So we need to push the society on the whole, the communities, and as Joanne has explained, and also the brands, the supply chains, the commerce side of the business, and push them, you know, for these adaptation and adoption of these materials as well. So some of them are very excited. Obviously there are industrial leaders and followers. They're always like this. So the people like Gap and Levi's, these are the leaders. So they lead the fashion industry. And the rest of them, they have to follow. If the consumer wants these, then the brands have to do it. There is no other question.
And because I'm a policy student, if like what kind of policy changes do you want to see and to make recycling more like to drive down the prices and also like sorting, we need like better sorting mechanisms, and then like what kind of policy changes do you think will make your facility like work more easier?
This composition wise sorting, as Joanne explained, this will help a lot, definitely. Then more states have to follow, like the law, SB 707, George Nauman law. Every state has to follow. I know that there are few states are already looking into their laws as well, and this is how it's going to be, and this is the first step, making the policy and making the laws. And then obviously the consumers and the due to the funds as well, the brands will follow it, they have to. When the law is made, obviously.
Under SB 707, education, a public education campaign is a big part of the program. And there's rules in the law as to what needs to be part of that program, of the education. Like, for example, how to find a recycling center that's authorized to and sorting that we know. Or maybe the education campaign is how to remove stains and how to do your own repair. So in the law, there's going to be education. And then part of it is also educating on the materials. So what products were made from California waste? What products were inspired by green design? And so that becomes part of the program. Excuse me. But one of my theories on policy change, because even though I work in waste, my background was in trade policy, there are actually trade codes. So every product that's traded has an HTS code. So this is a men's shirt, there's a code. Here's a toy that's made of wood, there's a separate code. But there's no tariff code for organic cotton. There's no tariff code for recycled cotton. They're all put together. So if our government wants to give a tax break, or maybe free tariffs for recycled content, but there's a tariff for virgin, non-organic, we have no way to separate that. But when you look at other product types like peas and corn, they do have separate codes for the organic. And so when you start to dig deeper into policy and politics, you see that actually the United States has the largest and strongest cotton lobby in the world. Right. So what happens is when we start developing certain policies, there's special interests. So at the federal level, there are really challenges to create better flows and better communication for certain product types, because there are special interests fighting the opportunity to track them separately because they benefit from them being together. So those are some of the challenges I'm not working on, but that I have seen just in the big scheme of things that would just make the system better. And so I know one of the things, there is a code for used clothing and there is a code for scrap. And it's really key to understand these coding systems, because when we are going to ship to Pakistan from Los Angeles, you pay tariffs based on those codes. So if I am sending usable garments, I'm paying a tariff that's higher. If I'm sending scrap, it's lower. So they open these containers, you can risk getting fined if you use the wrong code. And one of the key differences between the used clothing and the scrap is that it has to be slashed, cut, canceled. There has to be some sort of destruction to make that garment non-usable to get the scrap code. So that means here in California, we have to pre-process. Even if it just means a quick slash with a razor, but it has to be rendered non-usable. So even if we wanted to, start shipping more and more containers, we have to create the systems to pre-process, even if it costs a lot of money, because you save money on the tariffs. So it's kind of those little details along the way that will make the system flow better. It just takes a lot of time.
And I just want a big, say a big thank you to Nauman as a general
Thank you
public,
for
not as a
inviting.
student, as a general public, because in the beginning, I was so a little bit skeptical about the recycled content. I wasn't sure how what the quality is, but after hearing your lecture, so now I think that's why public education is really important. We need to convey the message that the recycled content, they are good in quality and that they are good for the environment.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for inviting us. Thank you.
I agree with the public education. I was gonna also follow up with a question of how are you gonna tell the consumers, because they're gonna be the one paying. Yeah, you could tell the companies to change, but if the consumers aren't moving and if they don't know what any of this is, then they're not gonna want to change too. So I do love that you're gonna emphasize on education, also repairing. That's actually one of the goals in my head, after I graduate, doing something where we teach and educate people on how to take care of their clothing and how to keep it for longer instead of buying more just because, I don't know, there's a stain you can't get rid of and that's ruin the whole clothing. But yes, I love that you're thinking about that. But also, is there other do you have a specific goal in mind of how you're gonna not advertise is, that's not really the word I'm looking for, but giving this information and educating people? Because if you have the policies, how are they gonna access that? Where is that information gonna go to the consumers? Because I know that there's a lot of information online, so it's where is that gonna happen? But
and who's an authority on that information? Who can you trust on that information?
Yeah.
We like to trust our government, but right now I don't know. That's a really good point. So typically when a law passes, you have the legislation, that's the law. Then it goes to an agency and the agency writes the regulation. And that says, this is what we're gonna do to meet those law requirements. But with extended producer responsibility, there's a third step, and that's the plan. And that's when the industry writes a detailed plan, they're 400 pages, exactly what they're gonna do, how they're gonna educate. Are they gonna do billboards? Are they gonna do Instagram ads? They usually do it all. And they do webinars, but that has to be written out and it has to be approved by CalRecycle. And not only do we have the plan that says what they're gonna do, they do annual reports. And that's how our government doubles checks. Here's what you said you're gonna do, or here's what's in the regulations, what you have to do. Here's what's in the plan that you said you're gonna do. And here's your annual report, what you accomplished that year. And that's how our government's able to say, your education campaign wasn't good enough. And actually the mattress program was non-compliant one year, I think 2019. Specifically because of their education campaign, because they didn't create an education campaign that was adopted for rural communities, environmental justice communities. And so because they just did one massive campaign, they were actually non-compliant that year, because in the law it says they have to adapt the campaign to the different communities. So why we like these types of laws is the government doesn't prescribe. You have to spend X dollars on Instagram. They say, you tell us, how does your market receive information? So one of the things May and I do for some of our projects are we conduct these education campaigns for Napa. The city of Napa does a shoe drive every year. And the shoe drive, we know shoes are not very recyclable. And if the city's doing an event, people think, oh, recycling. Okay, this is my unusable shoes. And so the city of Napa has this problem. They want to keep doing the events and they know some for reuse, but then they have this big non-recyclable batch of shoes. So it's through education campaigns. So they hired May and I to see what are some shoe repair options? How can we promote? There's one shoe repair company in the city of Napa, and we're creating a social media reel. And this is a business that's foreign owned, so, and they're older, so they're not making social media reels. So having us, like an education nonprofit who's hired by a city is one way that we can kind of promote repair businesses as a way to reduce the shoe drive, like volume. So yeah, there's a lot of things the cities are doing in the absence of a policy, and education is the most affordable way to do that. And so when it comes to recycled content, it's a little harder for a city in Kent County. How do they promote like hemp pants? You know, that's kind of Old Navy's responsibility. So with the education with EPR, it like puts the responsibility on the brands, but the government has the role to say yes or no.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
wow, thank you.
And it's funny, so you now know about this, and it probably won't roll out till 2028. So in 6 years, email me back and say, I saw one of the bins, I saw one of the ads.
Yes.
Policy does tend to be 3 to 5 years kind of ahead of the public. We knew about China National Sword a solid 2 years before the public. Are there any questions online? Yalin, do you have any questions for us? Does anyone want to come up and feel the fabrics up here? Thank you, everyone who's on the
Thank you very
Zoom.
much.
We'll go ahead and stop the recording, but please feel free to email us. May will put my email in the chat, and I can forward any questions or any contacts to Nauman. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Like this just makes me excited.
Yeah,
Like yes, finally something.
I've been feeling this sweater the whole lecture, and I'm like, I want to feel it. It's so soft, and I love the cut. It's what?
1-year-old, and it's made in Sri Lanka. So it's completely clothing. This is one of the largest stores in Sri Lanka. The yarn and the fabric came from Pakistan to Sri Lanka. And then we found them there. So 50% recycled.
Oh wow.
And you cannot tell the difference between, I can show you 100% recycled. This one, this top one is 100% recycled. And there is no difference at all between the version.